Hey there. Good morning where I am, good whatever where you are. I'm Reverend Corey Keyes. I am the executive director of the Haden Institute, where we train people to become spiritual companions and also dream workers in the Jungian tradition, the traditions of the famous psychologist Carl Jung. And you are the salt of the earth, according to Jesus, as quoted in Matthew 5:13 through 15. For those of you keeping score at home, you are the salt of the earth. But what if salt were to lose its flavor? How can we restore it? It's fit for nothing but to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. You don't build a city on a hill and then try to hide it, do you? You don't light a lamp and then put it under a bushel basket, do you? No, you set it on a stand so that it might bring light to all in the house. Light of the world, salt of the earth. I often feel like neither these days, and I'm sure it's the same for you. And I want to talk about how we stay completely supplied with our salt and completely lit, if we will. Salt of the earth. The salt, this is salt from the soul mines, salt from the soul mines. And it's, of course, because I am who I am a Jung nerd, all based in the work of Carl Jung and hopefully a couple of really important spiritual leaders beyond that. His idea was that the great privilege of being alive, he said, was becoming who you're meant to be. And he thought of the structure of the human being, the human mind, the relational being, thusly. First, you have your persona. That's where your personality resides, that which you show the world, that which you portray to the world who you are. And behind that mask is the ego. The ego is the place where you tell yourself your narratives and your personal mythos that gives you an idea of who you decide you are, the ego. You need the ego to survive in the world. It sometimes gets a bad rap, but you need that ego. But you also need to get beyond the ego, because there are things that have emotional, physical, psychological effects on you and spiritual effects on you that you are not fully aware of. Things in your personal unconscious that are hidden back there in what's called the shadow. You have shadow elements that nonetheless influence you. Think of a time when someone does something pretty minor and it bothers the heck out of you. That usually means there's a shadow element, some trigger in you that rules you in some way that you're not aware of. They call it a complex. We won't go any further with that. Beneath that personal unconscious is the collective unconscious. This has to do with all creatures as relational beings, not just made of the same stuff, but interconnected. Beneath the ego, in the collective unconscious, the stuff that's in our DNA. Let's see. Think of a dog on a carpet walking around 3 times to tromp down the grass that's not there before laying down. Vestigial things that influence us that we are unaware of, that are in this collective unconscious. And bobbing in the middle of that, connected by an access to the ego, is the psyche, is the soul, is the seat of that which makes life sacred, interconnected, loving, holy. The psyche, the self, with a capital S, what we call the big S self. And this is what we need to be connected to right now. That's where our salt is. That's where our flavor is. That is the generator of the light that we want to set on the stand to provide clarity and light to all in our household, to provide light to the world, to be a city on a hill. That is the source for that. Salt from the soul mines. And I want to talk about staying in touch with that, because it is vital right now. By design, the people in power are throwing as much excrement into the fan as they can find and hurl. It's by design to overwhelm, to make us feel despair, to have us believing we are powerless to stop this behemoth movement. And it's a lie. And it's all a lie. I don't use the word evil lightly, but I'm going to use it here, and I'm going to say evil is lazy. Evil does not need to convert you to evil. It only needs to convince enough of us that we are powerless to stop it in its ways. So everything that's happening now is designed to disconnect you from your power source and leaving you feeling like your hands are tied and all you can do is watch. How do we counteract that? Well, you counteract destruction with creativity. You counter anger with laughter and joy. You counter hate with love. You lean into those things. And all of those things are indications that you've traveled to the soul mind, that you've traveled to the psyche. And there are ways to reach it. You know, of course, the first way is prayer and meditation, quiet reflection, time alone. I imagine your plans for the rest of your day include breathing. Mine do. I'm going to breathe throughout this presentation. I hope you do too. But let's start there with a reset of the vagus nerve. Reset the vagus nerve through intentional deep breathing. Let's take 3 deep breaths. Our world these days seems to be all about consumer culture, materialism, and productivity. Productivity. We need in our life to think about process, not product, and presence, not performance. We need to stop regularly and breathe deeply and remember who we are and who we intend to become. Joan Baez, who's been on the front lines in the peace and justice movement for more than 50 years, in a recent interview said, the right mix is 15% action to 85% rest. 15% action, 85% rest, because the reflective rest empowers the courage and the imagination for the action. It isn't taking a break from your work. It's what fuels your work. So, meditation, deep breathing, reflection, reading really good poetry and literature, enjoying art, dancing, playing, singing, drawing, sketching, coloring, gardening, anything that is creative for you is counteractive to destruction. Now do this in your personal life, and of course do it out there as well. If we want to maintain our salt, we need to spend time in the soul minds. If we want to light our lamps and put them on a stand, we need to get close to the flame of life as often as we can. We need to spend time in psyche. Here's a weird one. Record and analyze your dreams. Now, I can show you all kinds of ways to do that, but it's really very simple. They're your dreams, and there's only one expert on the dream, and that's the person who dreamt it. So have a journal by the side of your bed, or even like a loose leaf notebook or a legal pad or something with a writing utensil, or open the voice memo on your phone. And if you wake up in the middle of the night or when you wake up in the morning, before you move, Think what's in your mind. Is it just an emotion? Is it a feeling? Do you have a sense of a scene or an object? Do you have a snippet of a plot or an action? Do you have a full dream? Write it down or record it. First person, present tense. Get it all down on paper. Don't take time to edit, because the whole idea is you're bypassing that ego. You're bypassing that executive function that's been asleep when your psyche, when your collective unconscious and your personal unconscious have come out to play, because the executive function, I like to call her the bitter school marm editor, has been away. And so things that are true for you, things that are true for the world, things that bring clarity will come to you, and sometimes it will come to you as an Oreo cookie talking about Nietzsche. It'll come to you in bizarre symbols and objects and actions. And that's part of the fun. And unpack those dreams and receive from the psyche, from what Jung termed the capital S self, what we like to call the big S self. So record your dreams and study them. Work with your mind. Work with your best resource. There's that. And recognize that you are loved. You are, according to Alan Watts, a data collection point of the universe. You are part of how the universe comes to know who it is. And your data is vital. Your data is vital. So in your 15% of action, you will be bolstered, you will be empowered, you will be enriched and enlightened by your 85% rest. It's not picking and choosing our battles. It is picking and choosing our supplies for the restoration of all that is good and worthwhile and supportive of life in all its diversity. It is vital work. And here's what happens. It's an organic reaction. When you do your own personal work, well, I'd like to share a story first. I had a friend that I was companioning who described her darkness when I asked her as evening. Wow, that was powerful. Evening. When you describe your darkness as evening, you recognize that it's cyclical. You will have darker times. You will have a dark night of the soul, and then you will have dawning revelation, and then you will have the light of day, and then you'll have evening, and then you'll have the dark night of the soul, on and on and on, cyclically. But when you are in those times of dawning revelation, and when you are in those times of basking in the light of soul love, you shine, and you are attractive. And other people come toward you and they catch it too. And before you know it, you are a household. You are a neighborhood. You are a community. You are a region. You are a nation. You are a world of enlightenment. You are a world of saltiness, of flavor. You are justice. You are peace. You are repair of the planet. It comes from the soul minds. Everything we need comes from the soul minds. Don't despair. Reflect. Don't shout out in anger. Build up in joy. Be present and be party and be witness to the justice that needs to come. Be a light to those who have been cast in someone else's darkness. Be present and follow your soul process. You salt of the earth, you light of the world, you salt from the soul minds. You are so very loved. Now go be peace.